Hey, City Radio, this is our voice. This is our voice.
Yo, if you don't know me, don't try to friend me, yo. I don't want no Facebook friends. Those ones.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Unscripted, the show where we talk about anything and everything. For today's episode, I'm your host, Isabel, and joining us are three lovely guests. We'll be sharing our thoughts on what are the mental health struggles of the youth today. What are the beliefs and stigmatized views around this topic? And most importantly, how are we taking care of our mental health? So stay tuned.
Hey, City Radio, this is our voice. This is our voice.
Welcome, guys. Before we get started, please introduce yourselves and tell us something that we should know about you.
Hi, guys. My name is Tammy
Hi.
Lauren, and I'm in level 100. I like sleeping, listening to music.
Hi.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I'm a computer science student, also in level 100, and I like to read.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Archibald, and
Hi.
I'm a level 100 student, and I'm studying journalism. And yes, it's good to be back here.
Thank you guys for coming. I'm so excited about this conversation. Today's topic is mental health. If we could give a quick description, what do we understand by mental health? Tammy, let's start with you.
Okay. So basically, mental health is how you're psychologically affected by your surroundings, your emotions, everything.
Also, yeah, your psychological well-being. That's what I think it is.
Okay, so I feel like it's the composition of like your emotions, what you go through in a day, in a year, what happens basically in your life concerning your emotions.
All right, now these definitions are all great and clear, but were these the definitions that you would give, let's say, 5 years ago?
Not at all.
Everybody would have thought like
Yeah.
having mental health issues means you're mad or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not sane.
Those people sound white people.
And do you think that these perceptions probably came from how we were brought up in our homes?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes,
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 most definitely.
yes. Because
Because, well,
no, you go.
in Africa, basically, we kind of speak about our mental health. Mental health issues. Good. We kind of speak about them. When you speak about it, you're like, this girl, does she think she's an American or she's a foreigner?
Exactly.
So
Like, where is she
dramatic.
from? Oh, God. So, like, it's, I don't know how to even put it.
There
We
weren't
should
a lot
just-
of conversations growing up when it came to
Yes.
mental health.
Yeah,
Yes.
there weren't a lot.
Definitely.
So when did we start, let's say, look and try to understand what are these emotions that we're feeling? What is this mental health that the Western world, if we have to put it like that, is so focused upon?
Okay, so personally, it was when I had a seminar in my high school, and a lot of what they were saying, I was relating to it. I was like, okay, so there's some unspoken things that we need to address.
Okay. Yeah, mine was basically when I started TikTok. TikTok really
Yes.
opened my eyes because back then I used to think that, foreigners, they're so dramatic. But then when they actually tell you about it or like give you a view from where they are, you understand that, oh my God, something is actually
People
going
go
on that we
through a
need
lot.
to know
Yes.
about. Yeah.
So mine was more or less like my experience with my friends, because I have quite a number of friends out of the country. So you see, most of the conversation is centered around them having issues with not being too comfortable in their bodies, not being able to speak to people like at large. I feel like we Ghanaians really, or Africans really, underappreciate those type of topics.
Yeah. And just like Vanessa said, with the rise of TikTok, I think there are a lot of topics that were not very normal to talk about.
Yeah.
But with those 30-second videos, all of a sudden they became fun. And mental health, we can say it was definitely one of the topics.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So now that we have a clear understanding of mental health, how is it affecting this new stage? We are now level hundreds, right? But apart from now moving from, let's say, senior school, and now we're here in university, how has it affected this shift?
Yeah, it's been a big change because not only am I personally moving away from my family after never being in boarding school, I'm one of the youngest among my peers, so it's kind of hard to adjust.
With this change, Tammy, would you say, because earlier you mentioned that you moved also from countries, you are from Nigeria,
Yeah.
and now you're here in Ghana.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a lot that's actually changed with how you are perceiving your new lifestyle?
Oh yes, you come in thinking, oh, so much freedom, I'm away from parents, but then you start seeing how reality is, taking care of yourself, being responsible. So it's like, wow, I'm finally starting to see what being an adult is.
And with that came a lot of responsibility.
A lot of stress.
Okay. And what about you, Archibald? What can you tell us about your experience here in university?
So
and
for someone like me, I don't know how to say this. I've been the outspoken type, but then socially anxious. I've not been able to master the fact that standing on stages, or I've not been able to come to terms with standing on stages at large and talking to large groups of people. But then with my exposure or my new enrollment in university, I've been able to come past that. Even though it's still frightening at some point, I've been able to come out of my social anxiety in a way, because I'm talking to people right now. I feel like this is going to reach quite a number of people, and then it brings me out of that situation.
And the presentations, like classes,
exactly.
they help.
Okay, so we can say that this is basically that time where we are forming our new identity, if we can put it like that.
Yeah.
And with that comes, what can I say, a little bit of insecurity of letting go and letting new things in.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, unlike Tammy and Archibald, I have been in boarding school basically my whole life. So I kind of knew what I was to expect. But then in university, it's so different. I even saw a meme where it's like, adults worry about looking at their bank accounts, and middle school and high school students worry about looking at their grades, but college students worry about looking at both. And that is so true. Because coming here, I'm like, oh my God, my money, oh my God, my grades. And it's so overwhelming. Do you get? Yeah.
Yes. And all of these experiences that we have now to encounter, we just say they contribute a little bit to a level of anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially with your personal life, apart from your money situation, your grades, your personal life, trying to find the right peer group, trying not to fall into bad peer groups.
Yes.
A lot of distractions in university.
Yeah.
And relationships. How are the relationships going?
Well, I haven't been in any. I haven't found anybody yet. But then using experiences from my friends, I've seen them compromise our friend group by starting to like each other, and it has brought it makes it quite or somewhat uncomfortable for us, because we are in a friend group, then you decide to like each other, then after there's this sort of break, there's no way we can see
relate
each other.
the same
Thank
way.
you. I can't come and talk about some things in your midst. I would have to go behind your back and talk about. So then yes, it's something that I didn't expect at all.
Okay, just like the example that Archie gave right now, relationships within groups, these are all friends, but the feelings are there. How do we manage these emotions?
Well, honestly, I don't know, because friendship groups have never been it for me. I would always like one person more than the other. I wouldn't be able to relate with someone like I would be able to relate with the person. So having a large group of friends is just so too much. And to only even come and like someone here, and if they break up, then you now have to come and not talk to this person because it's like nah.
It all adds up to you stressing, like you already have your brain stressed out, and you don't even realize that your mental health is being affected.
Yes.
Right.
And then apart from our friendships comes us keeping our relationship with our parents that's a little bit far from us.
Yeah.
So how is that going?
I was just telling Arnold that he should make sure I call my father by 4 p.m. My father is very angry because
You haven't
I'm not
called
the
him in
kind
a
of
while.
person to call frequently, and they're far away, so that doesn't work.
So you try to at least call them once a week or once a day?
Like twice a week.
Twice a week.
Yeah. So for someone like me, I'm close to my mother because I am the type of person who has problems with my body. My body decides to take different shapes based on the season of food. So there are days I become completely slim. There are days you can see my 12 packs. There are days you can see my 1 pack. But then that has made me closer to my mother because I don't tend to talk about my weight issues with some people. I talk to my mother about it. So she's not in the country, so I call her at odd times to talk about it. I can be sleeping and have anxieties at like 2 a.m. and I wake up to talk about it. Because I know during the day there's going to be one person who's going to talk about how beautiful my one pack is. And then it leaves me in a different state. But then it's good to have some friends because they take your mind off it. Like they take your mind off your stress.
So by the look of it, this new environment, new experience, a little bit of a distance from our parents. For Archibald, at least, would you say you became closer to your mom?
Yes, I've always been close to my mother. I have been close to her, but not because I had things to talk to her about. But then coming here has made me even closer because I found what makes us closer.
Oh,
everybody needs that one person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's her unconditional love, her support.
Yeah.
Vanessa, what about you?
Yeah, my mother is my best friend. I love my mother so much. I'm closer to her than I am to any of my family members. But sometimes this woman can worry me a lot. Oh my God.
All of us, yes.
She can just come and say, I went home and this woman is like, you are so fat, you cannot even walk. I'm walking perfectly. It's actually too much. She's amazing, but the comments about the weight, if I were to be someone else, I would really be offended. But I know how she plays, so such is life.
All right.
Just in case you're listening to this, we still love them because they send us money. They send us money. So
Don't stop giving me food, I beg.
And how does your relationship with your parents affect your mental health?
My relationship with my parents is somewhat... They are the kind of people to expect a lot from you. So I've always felt like I have to live up to certain standards. And when it doesn't look like I am, it stresses me out and causes me to feel very down most times. So, and that's mostly on my father's side because my father is a very demanding man.
All of us, dear.
All of us.
So yeah, it's a lot sometimes.
So you would say the pressure from your father definitely increases a little bit of your anxiety?
Yeah, because it now makes me see other people like, oh, this person probably expects this of me too. So I just grow up thinking everybody has high expectations from me, and if I disappoint, I'm probably worthless.
What about you, Vanessa?
Well, I don't know how to explain it. My father is the kind of that... He makes it seem like he doesn't really care a lot, but he does. He would... You will come and you're doing something wrong. He'll just give you a look. You just walk by. Unlike my mother that would shout for the whole world to hear. My father would just walk. But then it'll be like, oh, he doesn't care. But he's... You get. He cares.
Yes.
He's trying to show you that...
Perhaps he's just not very expressive.
Yeah.
Fathers are not as expressive as our mothers.
Yeah. One time I kissed the chick, this man said, don't do that again. The normal person will be like, oh God.
So Isabel, how has the transition been for you? Because you're from Angola as well. We are here in Ghana and we have different experiences. Tell us a bit about what you've been through.
My experience has been... actually, when I moved to Ghana, I was not hoping whatsoever to... come and study here. My father moved here for work purposes, and I thought I would just be here for a while and join my little sister elsewhere. But over time, I thought, perhaps I should just start with my studies. This is my second degree, but not really second degree because I dropped out for my first. So this experience, since it's the second after the failed first one, it's been an experience of a lot of realization of the things that I did before, such as not taking care of my mental health, not taking care of my body, not taking care of my relationship with my parents. So now it's been that tryout where I get to experience the things that I messed up before. Yes.
Yeah, I think more than anyone, I can understand you. In fact, that you're in a different setting, different food, which may or may not be better than what we're used to.
But I must say, if I have to compare my Angolan food with the Ghanaian food is probably better,
Yeah.
There is more flavor, there is more spice, there is more sauce.
Have you tasted Nigerian food?
No, let's not get into that before we have more mental health issues at hand. We're talking about the right food.
Right.
Yeah.
With the better jollof.
Wow.
I'm yet to taste the Nigerian jollof, just so I can, finally give my take on who is the winner.
Just so you have a stable mental health. You should try the Ghanaian.
And now that we're approaching our examinations, and it was a long but short semester, how is everything going when we have to look at our emotions and the toll that this first semester took on us?
Well, none of us want to fail, but all of us, in our own way, are quite lazy too. So, to read, you have to, but you know that
because now we have all these chapters that we have been accumulating that really have to be digested in order for us to pass our examinations.
There are a lot of distractions in school.
Yes.
Like you're doing one thing this second, you're saying, okay, I'm going to read by this particular time. Before you know it, your friend is calling you to come and do this. Come
Procrastination.
And watch this.
Even with that, I feel like the good thing the school introduced to us was the study groups. In other schools, you'd see that they have voluminous slides just like we do, but then because of the formation of study groups, it makes it, for us here, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
So I'm having a problem with something in communication and culture. Then I go to Tammy's room at night. Then we sit down and have a brief something about it. Maybe get distracted a little, but then I know I've gotten two things out of the slide and I'm taking it back. So that's the good thing about the stress level, managing it. Because if we didn't have groups, or if we were not comfortable enough talking to each other, and we were supposed to learn, we're supposed to learn alone, I feel like it would have made the work much more difficult.
Okay, so what we are practically hearing from Archie is that when it comes to academics, the pressure is not as intense as we were expecting it to be. Do you agree, Vanessa?
No, I do not agree at all because my course is very, very intensive. There's physical science where I'm really scared that I would resit because every time I study, this thing is just not entering my head. But, well, I just pray I don't pay those that $200.
Oh no, none of us are paying.
But if I pay there,
yeah, none of us are paying. I feel like sometimes we underrate our potentials, or we don't believe in ourselves so much because of what we might have been through.
Yes.
But then when we actually let our mindset or take control of our mindset, we're able to do anything we want.
All right. So we have definitely picked up a few points right now with procrastination from Tammy.
Yeah.
And how are you managing your procrastination? Because the whole deciding on when you're going to do and prioritizing what you're going to do is definitely still a challenge for some of us.
Yeah, it takes a lot of willpower to say no to fun things that you really want to do because you know this is more important. You have to do this. Like today, before I came for this show, I was reading, a lot of people around me were playing games, talking about shows, watching anime, which I really love. And it's like, nah, I'm going to read.
Okay. So when it comes to our academics and the mental health, would we say that somehow we try to look for a few things to manage our emotions?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are pushed to,
What are the couple of things that you would say, when I'm upset or when I'm not happy, this is what I do?
So I feel, you go.
Okay, well, when I'm upset or I feel overwhelmed, I read or I listen to music, preferably Arctic Monkeys. Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like the best remedy to any insecurity problem is eating. Sorry.
And sleeping.
Because it's not sleeping, but then I feel like if you're able to eat the right amount of food, I can put you on really good food. So you see, if you're able to balance your eating, but eating solves every problem. No. Not money, but eating.
Okay, so we all have our own ways of managing our emotions.
Yeah.
Music, food, Tammy.
Sleep.
And when we go about these ways of managing our emotions, can we say it takes us to a better place?
I mean, I feel like it's temporary. It just solves that problem for that time being. Yeah. And you still have to think about it after.
Yeah. Isabel, so you were talking about how you've had to leave like that past or some part of your old school life to join us here. How were you able to, first off, cope? Second of all, how were you able to deal with
it must have been hard.
Yeah, it must have been hard. Because
I must say it was hard 5 years ago when I was studying, when I just started going to university. I was 20 years old, and I really didn't know what to expect. I just thought I was going to have this flood of freedom. I get to do what I want. I don't have my teachers telling me, this homework is due or anything like that. I had freedom. And what I didn't realize is I was so focused on the freedom and what came with the freedom that I didn't really realize also what can be taken from me with that freedom. And my mental health was probably one of the things that took the most toll. That the first years of university until I dropped out, I was going through a lot of depression, going through a lot of anxiety. Depression because I was not happy with the course that I was studying. Yeah. I didn't want to study economics, but it was that thing of I got in and my parents were like, oh my gosh, our daughter's going to be working in a bank, our daughter is going to be with economics. So I was like, okay, let me just make them proud. But truth is, I was sucking, I was failing, And after realizing that, okay, this is not really going to work out, I thought that let me just try to get a job or make some money, because I thought while making some money, I would actually have the freedom that I wanted. But truth is, it just increased the anxiety because I was not making the money that I wanted.
Yeah. So how were you able to deal with stress like that?
Truth is, I was with the wrong crowd at that time, and I thought that the best way that I could deal with it was drink. So I would go out and party every weekend. So the whole weekend we're happy. We don't have any sort of mental concerns. We don't have anything holding us back. Life is perfect. But comes Monday again, I'm anxious and depressed about everything that is happening in my life. Yeah. So just like Tammy said, it's all temporary. We find ways of numbing our emotions, but they are all temporary. It's not really what is the cause. Talking about that, I actually read an article of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. And he says that most of our emotions and how we react are actually root of our childhood. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that most of the emotions that we feel right now are not necessarily the things that are going around right now, but because of our past experiences. Do you guys think that a lot of the things that you went through in the past are affecting how you are viewing the world today?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like everybody, the way you're brought up, when you grow up with specific circumstances around you, definitely it's going to affect how you think or view life when you're older.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or
I don't
not.
know if this example might work, but then I was somebody who was also close to my grandmother a lot, and I used to be very close to her. So I remember yesterday talking to the producers about the fact that I haven't cried in like 5 years, but then I was able to, or I cried last year because my grandma passed away. And it was one of the most emotional things I could ever go through. So everything in the house or everything I did after that reminded me of her. Wearing a shirt reminded me of her, because there were times she told me that you don't wear a shirt this way because you might just end up opening it. You don't wear a shoe this way because you might spoil the back. So most of my life, because I was growing up at that point with my grandmother, and I grew up in a way in a gang community, and my grandma was very, 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 very disciplined. So then it changed the way my life, or the way I saw life. But then after I lost her, putting myself in the place where I still had her, I don't think I would have been acting the way I'm acting now.
Yeah. Also, speaking about grandmothers, my grandmother was an amputee. Also, you as an amputee, you cannot walk, you cannot do things by yourself. So it's reasonable that they would send you a lot. But as a young child, I'll think, oh, this woman is so annoying. She's so annoying. I remember the last time she asked me to go and throw something away for her, and I snubbed her. The next 2 days, woman's dead. Oof. Imagine how I felt. I felt so horrible. But then, now that I'm reflecting on it, I've learned to be a little bit more selfless and put myself in people's situations. Because the fact that even as an amputee, I thought she should roll her wheelchair and go and do it herself. Why do I have to go and do it for her? Now I know how it is for people in situations. I can't just look at an outside view and be like, oh, this person is exaggerating.
Compassion. You're more compassionate about everybody around. Okay. So You both spoke about your grandmothers. I had wonderful grandmothers, probably where I even got, she's the one that gave me my name, Isabel. And my grandmother passed in 2014. And quite frankly, when she passed away, I didn't understand how much she would have made a difference in keeping everybody together and especially my emotions. I think for everybody that has a grandmother in any family, she's that person that you can go and talk to about anything and not worry about what your mom or your dad are going to say, because grandmothers have the knowledge and the wisdom how to manage, even if we have to talk to them about our mental health, even if we had to talk about our emotions. So we have to, I don't know, keep a part of our grandmothers with us as we move forward for the day when we are grandparents as well.
I remember one thing she told me was, if you keep getting angry, you'd eventually turn to the devil. So I had to, that's one thing that has put me, like, has guided me, because I know if I keep getting angry, I might just pick up a gun one day and shoot someone. So, not Tammy though. But
So me,
So the way we were brought up by our parents or grandparents is definitely one of the main factors that contributed to how we handle our emotions today.
Yeah. Very, very
Well,
Yes.
my grandparents are still alive, very lovely people.
Yes.
But if I was to pick someone who has really, like, I know I can talk to her, whether it's this or that would be my mother. You know? Because the way I see life now, because of how I grew up, I'm less concerned about how people look. I'm always there to step up if someone is being bullied or something about their weight, because I know how that can be, from being talked about your weight, you're too skinny, you're too tall, all that.
Yeah. So when it comes to all the views about mental health that we have, our own personal experiences, how are we handling? What are the solutions that we take to solve? I know that when I was going through depression, after dropping out, going back to my parents' house and looking for a solution, one of the things that really worked for me was prayer and meditation. And then also seeing a psychologist. I never thought that I was ever going to go to a psychologist and just talk about the things that I'm feeling. But when I saw that it began to affect my physical health, I lost a lot of weight. I began to lose my hair. My skin was pale. I was not eating nothing. I thought that, okay, perhaps I need a solution. So I'm sure that I don't know if anybody has reached that stage of losing their hair and weight.
Yeah.
So how are you guys dealing with these emotions that surface? And you can feel free to mention if it's depression, if it's anxiety, if it's social insecurities.
Me, I'm like, even up to now, I've not been one to believe in therapy, like sitting down across from a stranger and telling them about your problems. I just don't think it's for me. So yeah, prayer, like, there's a different kind of satisfaction you feel when you've just spoken to God. And you feel like you've been heard.
So I think, let me try and share an experience without making it sound like very, very personal. So at a point in my life, I wasn't I don't want to make it seem like I'm bragging, but then the all brilliant person. I used to have days where I would fall like so back and my parents would be shocked it was me. So I think one time in class 6, we had one of the most competitive exams, and then I didn't come out anywhere from like the top first to top. So I was like, let's see, last but one. And my mother was so shocked. She didn't understand. So I remember my parents took me to a psychologist because they couldn't believe I was, that's me. And at some point I was so confused because it made me feel like I was so stupid.
Yes.
It made me feel dumb. So I wasn't the type of person to allow, and I feel like if you keep making people know that or you keep allowing yourself to failure, people feel like you're weak. People take that as your weak spot. So I had to like develop a way. It made me somewhat depressed because I felt like my parents didn't have so much hope in me, or like they didn't believe in me at some point. Because I'm living with a sister who is, okay, let me see, it's all way perfect. My sister ends up with a first degree. My sister applies for a scholarship today. She gets it. My sister, she's the type of person who gets everything right. Yes. So I didn't want to be the person to be looked down upon. And then there were some times in my life where people would point at me and laugh at me because of my body. There's some points where people would like go back to the past where, oh no, you are not such a success. You were there are days where you failed. People look at your face and look at your body and say, do you think you are the right person for the right girl? Do you think this girl is in your league? Do you think you are going to end up with somebody as nice as this? So all those things added up to my 2018 depression time. There were days where I would grab like a full box of chocolates and eat it, or there were sometimes I would have to order like a box of pizza and maybe they had a promotion and I'll eat everything because I just wanted to drown myself in
the
it.
Emotions that were surfacing.
There were so many.
What if you had to mention at least 2 emotions, how were you feeling?
Not worthy. That's the whole thing.
You began to question your own value because of how people were viewing you.
Yes, and I think one thing that helped me solve it was prayer. So back to my grandmother, making me. So I remember one prayer she allowed me to pray to myself was, she said it in Ghana, but I'm going to say it. She said, Jesus Christ never went to school, but then he was the smartest amongst all of us. So every time I'm praying, I should relate my prayer to him. And surprisingly, it worked like magic. I've been able to see myself through JHS. I've been in SHS. I came out the head boy in my SHS. So you see, the thing about solving some of these things is finding the right remedy. I don't know if that is the...
No, I think you're completely right, because what can work for somebody doesn't necessarily work for somebody else. And that's why it's so important to have a certain level of awareness, a level of awareness where we get to understand what we are feeling, why are we feeling it, and then do some research. I find so many people do so many research about celebrities and what's going on, but they never really do research about what they're feeling. And truth is, the information is out there. And going back to the beliefs and the stigma around this topic, mental health, whereby we believe that it was only for either the Western world or it's for people that have serious mental illnesses such as madness, like we were saying earlier. But everybody has mental health. We all have mental health, and it's just the only difference is what degree is your mental health, how well are you taking care of it. So Archibald, can you say you're no longer eating a whole box of chocolate when the emotions surface?
Not for the fact that people... So now I've been able to ignore it because I feel like if I don't own my body, no one else is going to own it for me. If I don't accept my failures, no one is going to accept it for me, because you are supposed to... I remember reading something that you are supposed to fail to succeed. How
Very
else
true.
are you supposed to get there? And if I do not know that I'm eating too much to become big, sometimes it's sad because you wake up, look at yourself in the mirror, get downstairs or come in the midst of people, and everybody draws you back by telling you how you look, making you feel a little undeserving of yourself. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes complete sense.
But yes, solving... We've come... I feel like now it's better because now I've been able to ignore what people think, and now I've been able to accept that God is the one who is the most important.
Also, recently I also had a problem with envy. I don't even know where that came from, honestly. I'm just there and I'm just jealous of someone. No, I have the exact same thing the person has. And you're like, why is the person looking better in this than me? And until recently, I downloaded this devotional called God's Girl Bible, right? And I tell you, the first page, they were talking about Eve and how, you know how when they bit the fruits and they wanted to be like God, and they were comparing themselves to God, and it hit right on the nail, because God speaks to you.
He uses so many things.
I was so shocked. The fact that I was always comparing myself to people and being envious and all those things. Instead that so you get to the point where you realize that God gives you what you need when you need it, and it be set free, and that has just puts me at ease, because now I no longer suffer with envy or problem with comparison and all those things. Like the Bible is the best.
Yes, and that's a really good point, Vanessa, because understanding what we are feeling and searching for it. Vanessa got her answers from the Bible. You know, some people get their answers from a conversation with their grandmother, conversation with their friend. Other people, they search for it. So it's important to not keep that emotion in and do our I would subconsciously just find myself either I'm going to buy a drink or I just call up that friend that I know is toxic. But since I know that when I'll be nagging about my problems, that will be the friend who will be like, you know what? It's not really that deep, girl.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry. Or let's do that. Yeah. So I would call up that person. But when we understand what we are feeling and we take action in finding a healthy way of understanding and resolving this problem, then yeah.
And I feel like guys, like, they need to speak more on mental health, because guys don't believe in that.
Thank you, Archibald.
Because I feel like I cannot go, the thing about me is I cannot go in the midst of my male friends and start talking about my issues, because I would be laughed at. And I cannot go out of a place looking like a clown. And you see, boys are not allowed to express themselves fully.
If you cry, you're weak, you're a man. Why are you crying?
Thank you. And I feel like it's in some way it makes sense. We are not supposed to sob to the extent where females don't want to come to us or people don't want to see us as the stronger people. But then there are sometimes you want to let it out.
I know you should be allowed to. Like, society makes it so important for guys to look strong, independent.
Yes. And I feel like if you are the type of person who has, like Isabel said, the toxic friend, and you are trying to be, oh, I have an issue, you guys, can you come for us to talk? And everyone else tries to make it seem like you are like always having problems.
Yes.
That is what makes you reluctant in voicing out. So sometimes one thing that also helped me is recording. If I go back to my Telegram messages from maybe 2019, I had to record myself in dear self. So then I'll talk about every single thing. I'll say, dear self, today I didn't like what happened in class.
Yes, recording or journaling. A lot of people so just write down your thoughts when they surface.
And so back then I didn't like hearing myself. So I knew that when I'm recording and storing. And surprisingly, it got my mind off what I was going through, because I know if I say dear self, today in class I wasn't able to meet the target, or I wasn't able to answer questions, that means I wasn't able to overcome my shyness. I have to step up my game. I have to make the teachers notice me. I have to make sure that I am able to talk better. I'm able to be outspoken. I'm not supposed to be in a shell like the rest of the people.
Developing yourself further.
Yes.
So when it comes to all of the things that we're talking about, when you guys are back either in the hostel or in your homes, who do you talk to? Who do you talk to about these emotions?
My mother.
Apart from even talking to someone, I feel like everybody needs to self-reflect.
So I have a friend who vents. He normally he records himself and then he uses Snapchat. So Snapchat reminds him every year. Then he watches it. I remember last year, November, he sent me his venting session and we cried together because he realized that he has this masculine face and people thought he was not handsome. And I know you.
Okay, but not saying that masculine faces are not handsome.
Yes. So then, if he's listening to this, I'm sorry for bringing it up. But yes, people thought so. He was venting and he was crying, and I had to cry with him because he felt so. He felt like he was nothing, and I kept on reminding him. Sometimes you have to be nothing so people see you as something. You don't have to be all out. You don't have to be the person who, oh yes, you are this. You know, sometimes when you're too out there, that's when your problems start coming. So it's good to be like in a shell for some time.
Before you start getting people to accept you, you have to accept yourself. People already.
So actually, what you're telling us, truth is, boys have emotions too.
A lot.
Boys have mental health. They also have positive, negative emotions.
Yes, we are suffering.
But it's finding the right ground where they feel safe enough to open up about what they're feeling.
Yeah. And the good thing is that if you have boy issues, back then I couldn't talk about boy issues with my dad. I had to talk about it with my mother. But then after like my mother's move and everything, I became very close to my father. Surprisingly, I can tell my father about girls. I can tell because you see how most boys don't even talk to their fathers about the right girls. I can talk to my father will make jokes. So sometimes I speak English with my parents, but then sometimes because we want to make everything funny, my father will just speak Ghana and let me just speak. He says, "Kaya wo mokoni ehebe like don't go and carry a girl who isn't all that," because the way the world, not that there are girls who are not all that, but then some girls don't pride themselves enough, and Ghana people like people who defend themselves. My dad doesn't want me to go and bring any person who would always want me to defend them, because my mother is a very loud person. I hope she doesn't hear this, but then she's a very loud person. She would not want anybody doing otherwise. So my dad doesn't want to go and bring anybody who, if there's anything, I'll say something and they should go, because I have a very sharp tongue. No.
So by what you're trying to say is, after some time, or when you got the time with your dad and you actually got to open up, it turns out that you can actually talk to your dad about anything.
I think sometimes you just have to take that step. We feel like sometimes our parents will not listen.
Yeah.
But then if you actually start talking to them, to surprise you. I think one of my friends was having that problem, and then I actually helped her confront her mother. Now she and her mother are actually best friends, and when I go to the house, they don't even give me attention.
Oh, okay. So now, what are, if anybody's listening, what are the tips or suggestions that you guys would give to anybody that is still trying to manage their emotions, that is still trying to figure out this whole mental health dilemma?
Well, I would say that try not to force yourself to be accepted into society. When I first came into this school, there were a group of people would sit down and talk about me and be like, "Hey, this girl Shasha, why she always wearing short thing?" Me, you can only see me wearing shorts maybe once a week. Somebody went to go and say somewhere. That's me, then me a shower.
Hey. Which shared jealousy is that?
Let's not talk about it. I said that day I cried. I'm not going to. I didn't tell Archibald, but I cried because I was actually offended by it. The insult a shower is so degrading to me. So for someone to actually say that to me, have the guts and the audacity to say a shower to me is just like,
this
wow.
person
Should have told me, I'd have shown them some muscle.
You don't respect
Some
me.
muscle.
So how did you feel?
I felt horrible. I felt like, is this how I've come to this school and people are like perceiving things about me? They haven't even
most of the
spoken
time
to me before.
when people degrade people, it's because of their own insecurity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but Vanessa, I still see you wearing the shorts. Does it mean it didn't really get to you after some time of reflection?
It got to a point where I was like, "Hey, let me just start wearing trousers and long dresses so that people see me as Amelia." But I was like, this is what I feel comfortable with. This is what I want to wear. My mother bought it for me. Why should I just come and be like, okay, because somebody said I'm a shower, so I shouldn't wear? Hey, have I gone to sleep with your husband? Have I gone to sleep with your boyfriend? Like these things.
Self-acceptance. Self-acceptance.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this new environment that we're in, it's so hard, yet so simple to really find your identity. If you're going to be dressed in a certain way, if you're going to be dressed in your own way. And it's this time where we're no longer in the uniforms. I don't know if you guys at school, you would wear uniforms. And now you have to find your swag, and there's so many styles coming out. But what style defines who you are?
Comfortable.
I
have to be comfortable.
Open my cupboard and wear anything, to be honest. People will be like, "Oh, what's your inspiration?" I wear clothes.
I have to be comfortable because I think your comfort comes first every single time. I cannot force myself and go and wear shorts that to make my stomach, my butt come out, and wear shirts that to make me feel very fat. Even though I feel like I have shirts that make me feel very masculine. And I don't wear them because I don't want to confuse people's girlfriends.
Hey, have you seen our Chihuahua representation?
No, thank you, dear. But yeah, and going back to the question, what I'll tell anybody going through some of these mental health issues is you've got this. That's everything. You know, having self-belief in yourself.
As long as you don't bottle it in.
Having self-belief in yourself and finding someone to talk to. If you don't want to do that, record yourself.
And I think also understanding,
believing that you can overcome it.
And and pray, most importantly.
Yes. I guess at my high school, we had this big quote that was at our hall, and it was a quote that said, "This too shall pass." And this quote really helped me through anything. The good moments, I'll be really happy in the good moments, and I'm like, let me suck as much as I can from this good moment because I know this too shall pass. And the bad moments, I also feel like, okay, I'm in the low right now, but the clock is ticking because I know this too shall pass. So I guess for anybody that is going through anything, it's really important that they remember that this too shall pass, and nothing. The only thing that is constant is change.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember during lockdown, that's what the president was saying. But yeah, it actually passed. We are in a good state now, right? Vanessa, and things better for you when you're shipping things from Shein.
Yes, I'm talking about the lockdown. This period of end of 2019 to now 2021. It ended recently in ends of 2021. It was basically a time where we were forced to come in tune with our emotions. We were forced to come in tune with our families, and we were forced to come in tune with our reality. So what would you guys say for those people that are still recovering from the lockdown, those emotions, not feeling like they have enough, not feeling like they're good enough, not feeling like the time is moving fast enough? Now that the time is starting and we're back on track, what would you tell anybody that is still in the back, at the past?
Yeah, well, I would say that, during lockdown, unfortunately, people lost loved ones.
Yeah.
I can tell you that the pain... it never goes away, but it gets better. I just want you to not to dwell too much on it. If you dwell too much on it, you're going to be like that for, let me say, forever, because you're not going to get better if you move past it. Because the people that are dead, I know this sounds cliche, but they would want you to move on. They wouldn't want you to dwell on their death, or they don't like. The bad things that happen, losing your job, losing your house, losing anything, those things, if you dwell on it, nothing is going to happen. Worrying doesn't do anything. If you put action into it, that's when you move past your failures or your past. Exactly.
So I feel like the same thing. Find your new you. If you were somebody or you were victimized as a result of lockdown, all I'll say is find the new you. Maybe I think lockdown taught people a lot of things, because I was somebody who liked cooking a lot, but then lockdown taught me that Food Network was my best friend, because I was able to learn South African recipes, I was able to learn Russian recipes, I was able to learn a few other recipes. And yes, it's a good experience. It's a good exposure. It makes you learn things that you necessarily wouldn't have learned if you had so much time on your hands.
Yeah, I feel like you should also surround yourself with by good people,
positive people. If
you watch anime, you know that there's nothing you can't overcome.
If you watch good movies, I feel like good movies. Let's not say anime, right?
And friendship overcomes all, bro.
Yeah, but there's not only anime. It's not only anime you can learn.
I said monkeys to its parts.
But anime too is not the way, but.
Just surround yourself with people that make you feel good.
Yeah. People who know, who have taste in good food.
So I guess what we can take from this discussion or this conversation is that mental health is probably one of the easiest topics to talk about. And anyone has a say of an experience that they went through. So anybody that is listening can sit down with anybody or even get their phone and just search for whatever they want to know when it comes to the state that they're in right now. So guys, we have come to the end of our show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
One second, just a message for anyone that is listening.
Well, God is your ultimate answer. Pray and meditate and everything will feel better.
Yeah. And if you're anyone having problem with failure, I feel like you should look yourself in the mirror and say, you've got this. Because even though you haven't, you actually do got this.
Yeah, I want to say something inspiring too, but pray.
All right, guys. I think what I'm going to share with anybody that is listening right now is that you are not alone. Anything that you're going through, it's not that deep. And there is answers and there are solutions for everything that you're going through. You just need to accept the present moment. Understand that if you want anything in your life, you will be able to achieve through hard work, believing in yourself, consistency, and keeping the right mindset.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
It's been great.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show as much as we did, please leave a comment below or share this episode with a friend or two. You never know who needs to hear this too. Remember, stay blissful.
Hey City Radio, this is our voice. This is our voice.
If you don't know me, don't try to friend me, yo. I don't want no Facebook friends.
Hey City Radio, this is our voice. This is our voice.